Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about hints and also introduce a new hint management system. A hint is a delete key. A hint is an eraser. A hint is a pair of scissors that cuts out whatever that hint is about. So I'm going to give you a few examples so we can appreciate what a hint can do, how hints actually create gaps, how they do more damage than almost anything else. Let's start with this example. Suppose that a student doesn't know where to start a problem, just doesn't know where to start. So you give them a hint, you tell that student where to start. As that process continues over time, or honestly even just one time, what you're doing is either chipping away at or entirely erasing the ability to figure out where to start a problem. So that student will get to where many students get, many of our incoming students have already gotten there, to the point where they can do any problem as long as they're told exactly what to do. And if they're not told exactly what to do, they cannot do any problem. And obviously that's going to have a disastrous result on any kind of standardized test, any kind of anything. It's also damaging their personality, weakening their resilience, lowering their perseverance. It's a very, very destructive thing to do. Let's say, on the other hand, a student just they can start the problem, they do most of it right, they make a careless mistake. And you say, hint, your careless mistake is in line 3, you meant to write 3, but you wrote 2. What skill are you erasing now? Now you're erasing the skill of finding and fixing a careless mistake. And the result of that, the guaranteed result of that, is that when they take a test or do any kind of anything, they're not going to be able to find their careless mistakes. Whatever skill is given, whatever hint is given will directly atrophy that skill. And it doesn't take a long time. Here's an example. When the first astronauts went up to space, when they got back, they could barely walk. They'd been up in space for, a week. And these are highly conditioned athletes. Just that much time in 0G is enough to completely erase a person's ability to walk. Just a week for a super conditioned athlete. We see this, by the way, created by calculators. One important skill in math is to be able to find the most efficient solution to a problem. If you have a calculator, that's no longer necessary, and so that skill is immediately destroyed. I mean, it's just tossed out the window until you do something like geometry, abstract algebra, whatever, where a calculator doesn't really have any application. So what do we do? How do we give hints? Well, the simple answer is don't. Ever. The more complex answer is this. Before you even consider giving a hint, before you consider giving a single hint of any kind, first make sure the student has given several guesses of their own. Make sure that the student has done several responsive worksheets. Here's the thing. Our goal is not just to get a person through a problem, it's to figure out what the underlying issues are. And if a student seems stuck, there is something going on. And if you just kind of like grease the wheels and get them unstuck, you're going to hide what that something is. We're not going to know what's going on underneath, and we won't be able to fix that thing. So make sure they've done at least all of the responsive worksheets that are in the suggested thoughts. Before you give a hint of your own, talk to the lead instructor. Make sure you have discussed giving a hint with a lead instructor before you give any kind. A hint is not a thing to be done casually. It is not a thing to be done really ever, but it's certainly not a thing to be done until you've gone through all of these required steps. It is a last-ditch resort. What do you do before a hint? Make sure they've done guesses. Make sure they've done some responsive worksheets. Talk to the lead instructor. Most extreme scenario, hell, give them a hangman or something. Make sure that whatever they're doing actively, but it should never be a thing where you're giving them instructions. If you're doing that, you're going to be taking away their ability to figure out math. It is erasing that skill. The hint you give will erase the corresponding skill. So, things you guys should know, we have a hint management system coming up. It's going to be there to remind you guys to not give hints. It's going to bring up alternatives, etc., etc. It might seem a little bit different at first. We'll iron out the kinks and all that. But the number one goal for the next, however long it takes, is to, and I know that when you guys are giving hints, it's to be helpful. I know you're not trying to do anything bad. Is to get rid of any and all hints that are just being done off the cuff or whatever. One of the questions that some folks have had that I've talked about with this is, well, how do you create a bond with a student? You can You just don't give hints in the bond. You can encourage the students, say, keep trying. You can relate stories. You can say, as a math major, I often had to struggle with a single problem for 10, 20 hours. And I know those guys who are math majors have done that. I mean, we've all done that. You can talk about life. You can give just encouragement. You can ask them about their hobbies. You can do anything you want except for give the hint or give a hint or give instructions. Now, the pre-programmed hints, you'll notice, are the opposite of what you normally think of as hints. The pre-programmed hints, the thoughts, they don't actually help you with a thing. They actually just put more pressure on that area, therefore strengthening that area. So, for example, if the student seems to not know what the area of a circle is, the hint is not, here's the area of a circle. The hint is, what is the area of a circle? You see what I mean? This, by the way, this principle applies to just everything. It applies to all people, all animals. It even applies to plants. If you've ever seen a video of a greenhouse watering, you'll notice that the people working the greenhouse just like blast the plants with like a fire hose level of force. That's how they strengthen the plants. It's the same thing here. We need to build up the strength of the students, not sap their strength with hints. So we'll be discussing this a lot more over the coming weeks. It is our highest priority. Nothing has a higher priority than this right now. Just to give you one more thing, here's what happens. And this is the part that a lot of times you guys might not see quite as much. The worst thing that can happen is for a student to go through our system, go finish our program, and then not do well in the SAT. Because people have trusted us. We have told them that if you get through this system, you're going to do well in the SAT. And if we use the system right, which means no hints, make sure that people struggle and suffer through whatever questions they need to, make sure we pin every review question that needs to be pinned. If we do all of that, the system will work roughly 100% of the time. If we do a lot of hints, it's not going to work at all. And then, it obviously puts us in financial peril, because then we're going to be having, many extra students in each classroom and all that kind of stuff that are not paying. If students don't get that score that they need to, then they get free additional training. So in doing that, it's like it's damaging the business. Certainly, it's damaging the student's education. It makes me have to have unpleasant conversations that I don't want to with parents, where I have to explain, well, I don't really know how they got through the whole system. It is fine for a student to not make it through the system. It is fine for a student to not get a single question right during the entire class. It is fine for a student to get frustrated and give up on the program. Any of those things are fine. It is not fine for a student to be just like pass through the program with a bunch of hints and then not do well. That is not fine. Our guarantee needs to be a guarantee. When we say that if you do this program, you're going to get a 1500, then when somebody does this program, they absolutely must get a 1500. Our guarantee is not a bit of marketing. It is an absolute promise. It is an oath. It is a trust. It is a sacred compact between us and our clients, and we need to make sure that happens no matter what. And hints are going to get in the way of that. They're going to get in the way of education. So don't send any hints. We'll be sending you all kinds of reminders to make sure that doesn't happen, or to make sure that the hints don't happen.